It's the biggest disaster of its kind. A train carrying crude explodes. A town is leveled. Dozens are dead. Now word these rail cars are even more dangerous than we first thought. Good evening. I'm Elizabeth Cook.
And I'm Ken Bastida. A report out today calls fracked crude oil just as volatile as gasoline. The finding is important because rail cars carrying that crude could be rolling through our neighborhoods on the way to Bay Area refineries. Only on 5, Kristen Ayers talked to a survivor of a deadly derailment who hopes that her story can serve as a wake-up call.
It was. We were in shock.
Marlene Savad was just a few miles away when a train carrying 30,000 gallons of crude oil derailed, setting off a huge explosion and fire in the town of Lac Megantic in Quebec.
We knew that for sure people were dying.
Oh my God!
The accident took 47 lives. A once vibrant downtown was reduced to ashes. The toxic mess will take years to clean up.
It's like 50 football field that is really highly contaminated.
The train was carrying fracked oil from the Bakken region of North Dakota that the feds now warn is more volatile than traditional crude. Last week, the feds issued emergency regulations requiring shippers to test crude coming from the Bakken region. They also banned certain older model tanker cars, but they still haven't issued any new rules for the much more common tank cars like these that exploded in Quebec, called DOT 111s.
How many 111s have been taken off the train?
On Capitol Hill today, senators grilled railroad administrators about that.
The numbers indicate that we are moving in a direction that will bring us to these safer tank cars.
Right. But as of today, there hasn't been any major movement of 111s off the rails.
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah.
Bay Area refineries are still receiving most of their crude by ship and pipeline, but experts warn that could soon change.
This is the refining center of the Western United States. It's a huge amount of crude that is being proposed to be delivered here by rail now.
Greg Karras with Communities for a Better Environment says it all comes down to profits. The tanker cars are mostly owned or leased by oil companies that don't want to pay.
There are alternatives. They can afford them.
He says fracked Bakken crude isn't the only threat. Trains are now also hauling tar sands oil, the dirtiest kind of crude.
It sinks to the bottom when it gets into a water body like the Bay or Bay Delta. And this has happened also in other parts of the country already.
Meanwhile, 7 months after the Lac Megantic disaster, trains just started to roll through Marlene's town again.
The first thing that they rebuilt was the railroad. Okay.
No tankers yet. She says this time her town won't allow it.
We are thousands of people, so if everybody stands up, I'm sure that this is hope.
Now, Marlene formed a grassroots committee in Quebec, and now she is working with groups right here in the Bay Area to try to keep these kinds of crude by rail accidents from happening here next.
Her words, we are thousands of people. We're millions of people here. I mean, this has the potential to be going through neighborhoods with literally millions of homes, schools, hospitals.
And that's why it's so important that these activists are talking about not having these rail lines go through heavily populated areas. So we'll see what happens here.
All right. Kristen, thank you for that.